Welcome to Reddit Tea Time. Am I wrong for telling my husband the only way I will agree to a paternity test is if he schedules it? I, 30, have been married to my husband, male 36, for 5 years. I'm currently 4 months pregnant. This wasn't a surprise pregnancy. We planned it and actively tried to get pregnant. So it came out of left field when a few weeks ago, my husband told me he wanted a paternity test. I asked him how or why he thinks I'm cheating on him. He said he didn't think I was. But that makes absolutely no sense. I asked him to explain how this child could not be his if he is the only person I slept with and I didn't cheat on him. He had no answer for that. I was a mess for a few days afterward. Once I calmed down, I told him that if he wanted to get the test, then he could schedule it and tell me where and when to be there. He asked me if I could be the one to make the appointment. I told him no. He is the one questioning the paternity so he can make the appointment. He tried explaining again that he wasn't questioning paternity. He just wants to have reassurance. I told him I don't care anymore about his explanations. But if he wants to have reassurance, he can do the legwork. He asked if I could at least find a number for him to call, and I told him no. I still have no idea why he thinks I am that kind of person. I haven't done anything to betray his trust, but it has been at least a week, and he hasn't made any appointment, and last time I asked, he told me he was working on it. His sister came over this morning, after he left for work, and told me that she was told everything, and that I need to just put him out of his misery and do the test. I told her I would take the test, he just had to schedule it. She told me I was being witchy for not just making the appointment myself, but I am not the one who is questioning who the baby's father is. I don't think I should have to make the appointment, but I want to get an impartial opinion before he comes home today. Edit. Thanks everyone, you have given me a lot to think about. I honestly don't think he is cheating or anything. I 100% am not getting an abortion, but I think I am not going to be a stay-at-home anymore like planned. I am going to tell him to get the test scheduled or never bring it up to me again. Now, for some comments. If it's that important to him, he can make the appointment. You're not wrong and you're not his secretary. Is he lazy and incompetent about other things? Wait, he discussed this with his sister and she's harassing you? I'd be getting a PI to follow him and see what he's doing. Unless he's been reading all these stories on Reddit and is letting that get to him, then he's projecting what he's doing onto you. You might want to think about an exit plan and get all of your ducks in a row. This didn't come out of the blue. He's thinking about something. Not the bonehead. He's accusing you of cheating. He needs to schedule the effing appointment. Am I the bonehead for refusing to swap my wedding venue date with my cousin who got pregnant? I, female 28, have been planning my wedding for over a year now. And my fiancé, male 30, and I finally found our dream venue with the perfect date set for late summer this year. We deliberately chose a weekday because it was significantly more affordable, and we're both okay with a smaller, more intimate gathering that a weekday might necessitate due to some people not being able to take time off work. Now, here comes my cousin Lily, also female 28. She's always been a bit spontaneous and a free spirit. She recently announced her pregnancy, and the baby is due right around the time of our wedding. It's her first child, and she's incredibly excited, as we all are for her. The problem started when she asked me if we could swap our wedding date for hers, which is scheduled for a few months earlier at the same venue. Lily's reasoning is that she wants to have her wedding before the baby comes, and since she's already a few months along, her options for dates are limited. Also, she's been quite emotional about not wanting to be heavily pregnant in wedding photos. Her date is smack dab in the middle of my busiest season at work, where I typically work overtime and taking days off is practically impossible. Not only would swapping dates be a logistical nightmare for me, but it would also mean losing some of the vendors we've booked, as they may not be available on the new date. Moreover, we carefully curated our guest list, with several important guests needing to book flights and time off work for our original date. If we were to change it now, with only 5 months' notice, It would likely inconvenience them and lead to lower attendance. On top of that, my fiancé and I chose our date because it has sentimental value to us. It's the anniversary of when we first met. When I tried to explain this to Lily, she became upset, claiming that family should always come first and I was being selfish for not accommodating her situation. Now some family members are taking her side, saying it's just one day and I should make the sacrifice for her sake. I've had a couple of sleepless nights over this, feeling torn. On one hand, I want to be supportive of Lily during this exciting time in her life. But on the other, I feel like my fiancé and I have reasons that hold just as much weight for wanting to keep our planned date. So, am I the bonehead for not swapping my wedding date with my cousin, even though she's pregnant and has a tighter time frame to get married? Now, for some comments. Not the bonehead. You picked the date and booked vendors, which, like you said, may not be available on the new date and could lose you your deposit. She shouldn't have gotten pregnant in the middle of planning. Not the bonehead. Lily is selfish and entitled as hell. Why should you swap your wedding day? Lily got pregnant and decided that she did not want to be heavily pregnant during her wedding day. If she wanted to be married first, she should have been more careful or adequately timed better. Then to pull the family first card and get family members involved is manipulative and conniving. It is not just your day, but also your husband's. Invites, etc. have already been in the works and probably sent out. Tell Lily a firm no, and if she and any other family members have an issue with it, then they can be uninvited. Your wedding day, your happiness. Lily showed you that she doesn't care about you and she can't get everything she wants just because of pregnancy. No, you're not. The thing is, you already checked out the possibilities, which is more than many might have done, and there are too many things stacked against changing. If you could have done it, you probably would because you're a kind soul, but you can't. It's also your exciting time of life, OP. It's not just one day, it's your day. Don't compromise it. Am I the bonehead because I didn't stay at my own wedding reception after my sister-in-law had a tantrum? Some short background. I, female 27, am from the UK, while my husband, male 38, is from the US. We've been doing long distance for 2 years at this point, where he comes to visit and we were saving up for me to visit there. But it's expensive and my son has school, which if you've been on holiday in term time, you know it's 1,000 times more expensive than not. I've met my in-laws over video calls, but not in person until a week before my actual wedding, whereas I had met my husband at least 10 times in the 2 years of us dating, him staying with me 2 weeks or longer each time. When I got to America and we finally met the family, it was hard because they claimed they wanted to get to know me so many times, but none of them actually tried to make conversation with me. They didn't ask questions, and they were all talking about things I had no idea on, as it was sports or something I couldn't even try to engage in, like reliving memories I couldn't really comment on other than, "That sounds awesome" or "That's great." But they kept claiming they so wanted to get to know me and me going outside every now and then to get a breather from awkward social situations, having severe anxiety, was them being unable to get to know me. I felt ignored and invisible. The wedding day itself went great. We got ready, got married, and started partying, kind of, again. Same situation. No one spoke to me. The only people who actually had conversations with me were my friend, and we went outside together while she had a smoke because I didn't want to be alone. Me and my husband spent most of our time together, and around 8 p.m., my friend left. No one was speaking to me and my husband much at that point. 9 p.m. rolls around, and I get out of my dress and start trying to pack things up. So then, there wasn't much that needed to be done at the end of the night. Well, that's when sister-in-law, female 48, realizes we're leaving, and my husband is currently playing with my son, who is 5 years old, and his cousin, too preoccupied to hear his sister scream at me, asking if we're leaving. Like, she was in severe shock. She screamed at me 3 times until she then stormed out and, well, threw a tantrum. My husband tried to go and calm her, but that didn't work, and she continued crying when I let my husband know that the Uber is here and we gotta go. I was exhausted and extremely annoyed at this point after being screamed at and completely exhausted. I just wanted to leave, so I shouted to my husband that I'm leaving with or without him. I know it wasn't my brightest moment, but I was tired, especially with my body clock not changing either. We left, and now his sister is mad. Her husband is mad, and decided not to give the wedding video he took of us. He said we can't have it because I was immature for not staying a little longer when I saw sister-in-law was upset. I do understand her being upset, but at the same time, could she not have pulled us aside and had a civil conversation with us, rather than screaming at me and throwing a tantrum like a child? Not the bonehead, but this is your husband's problem. Just ignore her. You met a grand total of 10 times before marriage? I don't understand. You can't visit your now husband in over 2 years because your now 5-year-old kid is in school. What is he missing out on when he's 3? I really don't understand why his sister was upset. And your title doesn't match the actual story. You were already leaving. You didn't leave because of the sister. You left because the reception was over. This relationship is a disaster in the making. You're responsible for creating a stable and safe home for your son, not bring a man you married out of the blue and do not know into his life. You and your husband only met, saw each other 10 times before getting married. You have a 5-year-old son. Your husband is a complete stranger to this kid. You live in the UK. Husband lives in the USA. Where is your son's dad in all of this? Never met your husband's family once. Has he met your family? Am I the bonehead for telling my husband I will move back in once my stepdaughter and her family move out? I married my husband when his daughter, Trudy, was 22. She is now 36. He was 47 and I was 32. I have 2 kids, 20 and 18 now. Both are away at college. Trudy never liked me, and that was fine. She has a mother, and she was a full adult living on her own when we met. Her parents had been divorced for 6 years when I met her father. We live in a city with lots of tourism, so it was an easy decision to keep my apartment and do short-term rentals when my kids and I moved in with my husband. We also use it for out-of-town guests. Trudy and her husband ran into some financial problems last year. Trudy and her family of 4 moved in with us. We agreed that after the holidays I would stop taking reservations for my apartment, and they could move in there. They would sign a lease and we would rent it to them without collecting rent so they could build up rental history and money. Trudy moved in last October. It was hell. She doesn't help around the house, and neither do her kids. Her husband is working his butt off to get money together for them, so he comes home exhausted. And he is more help than her or their kids. The 3 of them leave dirty dishes everywhere. Dirty laundry everywhere. The house is just a mess. I have spoken to all of them, including my husband, about this. My son-in-law is the only one who makes an effort. Trudy literally said that I live in her father's house, so I don't get to tell her what to do. My husband did not back me up. So I moved out. My apartment is now empty since the holidays are over. I said I didn't want them treating my property like they were treating my husband's home. They are all mad at me for leaving and changing the plan. She actually threatened to sue me since they have a signed lease. I told her to go ahead since I could prove that I never got the agreed-upon deposit, or first and last month's rent, which we were going to cover to help them start over. I've been here for a week now, and it is great. No noise, no mess, a much better commute for me to my work. My husband has been spending a few nights a week here with me. He wants me to come home and give them the apartment like we agreed. I said I would do that if we went back to his house that minute and it was in good shape. It was not. It was disgusting. Like it smelled bad. It was like if 5 teenage boys were living there with no supervision. She saw me looking around in disgust and said that it wasn't her fault and that the mess was because they didn't have their own living space. Yeah, sure. I turned around and went back to my place. I offered to let my husband move in with me if he wants them to have their own space. He won't because he is retired and likes where he is. So like I said, they are all mad at me. My husband, Trudy, her kids. Trudy's husband is the only one who understands my position. I will no longer agree to let them in my apartment, and I will also only move back once they leave. Now for some comments. Not the bonehead. His lack of firmness. His failure to back you up. That is what created this mess. He doesn't get to use your sanctuary to evade that. Stop giving him this getaway. Make him live in the squalor that he is enabling. Of course, you'd be insane to let them trash your place. Not the bonehead. Did you really need to ask? You're so obviously in the right here. It was so generous of you to offer your apartment in the first place. Then she was untidy and rude in your own home. And that BS about it being her dad's home? Did she not process that under the same logic? The apartment is your home? Sorry, but no. I get that divorced or remarried dads often have a bit of a guilt complex around their kids, especially daughters. But he's already doing all that he can. You can't expect to stay with people long term and be a burden on them with chores and housekeeping. It seems the son-in-law totally understands the situation. I wonder if your husband can talk to your son-in-law about it. You could also show your husband the responses you inevitably get here. As a side note, I don't think son-in-law will stick around together with such a mismatch in how much work they do and general manners. He deserves better, too. Not the bonehead. Your husband is going to need to be given an ultimatum. You or them. And stop letting him sleep over. You are letting him get away from it. Make sure you are not paying any of the bills for your husband's crap hole. Tell him you won't move back till they have gone, and the whole place has been professionally deep cleaned. He is paying for that. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in the next Reddit story. Take care.